In street photography, so much is changing right now. Sometimes I honestly don't know where it's heading. It feels like every few months there's a new "this is what street photography is supposed to look like." And I'm standing in the middle of it thinking, okay, in which direction though? And why should I even care? One thing is clear to me, I'm not stepping away from my photographic style. I'm not suddenly going to reinvent myself because something is trending. I'm just noticing all these currents and tendencies and technical developments, and I want to talk because they do influence how we think, even if we keep shooting the way we shoot. So let's get into it. So everyone is shooting analog, right? It's like you walk through a city and you see film cameras everywhere. Point and shoots, old SLRs, rangefinders. And I'm not judging it. I understand the appeal. I understand the meditative part of it. Film forces you to commit. You don't shoot 800 frames and hope one works. But I still have a question that I can't get out of my head. Do we actually see the difference? Like, do we really see it? Or do we mostly see it because we want to see it? And then there's the practical side. Film is very expensive now. You buy the film, you pay for development, you pay for scanning, and then what do you have? A digital file, and not even a better one. Often you end up with a digital file that is obviously lower quality than what you would get from a good digital camera. Just less detail, less flexibility, more limitations. It's about the process, I understand that. But then it makes me ask again, why exactly are we doing this in 2026? And I think the honest answer for many people is because of, well, the feeling, the ritual, the limitations, the fact that it feels more like meditation. Which brings me to a suggestion. Camera companies, now listen. If you want to simulate the meditative experience of film perfectly, don't build another retro camera with a fake dial and a filter called classic grain. Build a digital camera that can only shoot 36 photos per day, and after 24 hours you can shoot again. That would be the perfect film simulation. The same mental effect. The same, I need to think before I press the shutter. Well, what do you think? Would it actually sell, or would people hate it after 2 days? Honestly, we can all pack it up, because AI will, at the latest in a year, generate photos that are so good you can tell them being AI. And I don't mean AI art, I mean street photographs that look like they were shot with a real camera by a real person in a real city at a real moment. So here's my question. Why doesn't that push us to be more creative? Why doesn't that motivate us to go beyond the usual light and shadow shots and black and white minimalism? And well, I'm including myself in that criticism. I'm stuck in my photographic style. I have my habits and I have my comfort zone. And well, I like my comfort zone, but I also know it can become a trap. I think AI gives us a chance to rethink what we're even doing. Either we decide that it's not about the results anymore, not about the final image, but about the hours outside, the sun, the walking, being out there with our photo buddies and exploring creativity in real life instead of producing something that just looks good online. Because AI needs hundreds, if not thousands, of images as training material to generate new photos that look really real. And for black and white minimalism, there is endless material to be found. It's everywhere. It's basically the default look of street photography online right now, as you may know. No wonder AI is already so damn good at it. But what if we chose a niche where the AI doesn't have that much material? Like only harsh midday color. No beautiful golden hour, no moody shadows, just bright, uncomfortable, disgusting light at 1 p.m. Or only photos that are too close, slightly awkward and not pretty. Or a whole series focused only on boring and odd hand gestures. Or street photography that's intentionally chaotic. No clean compositions, no geometry, no minimalist perfection. Maybe we should all drink some beers before shooting to fight AI. Being drunk makes us forget all our great street photography icons. I think the more everything looks the same, the more valuable the weird, personal, specific stuff becomes. Well, every year there are new cameras that make the old ones look outdated. Sure, the new Ricoh is great, but is it so great that you should spend the price of a nice 1 week vacation on it? A vacation where you would take your 3 years old camera and probably make better photos because you're in a new place. And honestly, it's getting harder for camera companies because at some point in times of rising inflation, nobody wants to spend 2,000 euros or more for tiny improvements. You can see it in the camera sales numbers. Who is still going to buy these new cameras? I think mostly retired dentists with 2 Porsches in the garage. And my prediction is cameras that are 5 to 10 years old, cameras like the Fuji X100F or the Leica Q2 will be more expensive in the future because they already give you top level photos and they're really fun to shoot. And as new cameras get more expensive, these older sweet spot cameras will become more and more valuable. So if you're hoarding older cameras, you might actually be making a really smart move. This one is strange, but I've noticed it a lot lately. When you meet another street photographer out on the street, this rare species standing on a corner lurking, and you say, hi. And then you think, hey, another street photographer in my city, and suddenly they stare at their screen like it's the most important thing in the universe right now. You know what I mean? Where does this come from? Is it the increasing amount of digital communication that makes us kind of speechless in real life? Do we not know how to talk to strangers anymore, even if we share exactly the same hobby? I really don't know. But I know this, I'm always happy when one of you sees me on the street and says hello. It's always a pleasure to chat with you guys. Berlin, Munich, anywhere. So yeah, street photography in 2026, I'm confused. But I'm not really changing my style, and I'm doing videos like this where I ask more questions than I give answers. But maybe you have an answer to one of my questions. I'm curious to know. In that sense, see you in the next video.